Now we're talking about hygiene. What's going to be very crucial is it's not just personal hygiene, but community hygiene. Hygiene when we return to work, to our offices from home. How can offices make sure that their staff is safe? How can offices make sure that they try to do their best to stay free of COVID? And with that, I'd like to invite my next startup right here on the show. It's called Smarten Spaces, and here's the founder, Dinesh Malkani, who's joining us, who's trying to do just this: use technology, use new practices to make sure that offices stay safe when we go back, whenever that is. Dinesh, welcome to Startup Central. Tell me, what is your startup up to? How is it that you're making offices safer for all of us?
Okay, good. So look, people want to come back to work at some point in time and it'll be staggered, right? So there'll be a certain percentage. But even if it's one employee, you can't leave any stone unturned, right? You can't take any chances. So we embarked on this journey to build a product where we said, let's look at all the steps. Let's look at the journey of an employee, right from the time they wake up and they say, okay, am I going to work from home or am I going to the office? And how do I make that decision? The second is I need to do an health declaration because if I have traveled or if I'm in a red zone, should I really be going to work, right? So filling that up. And when they get to work, there's a limit on the number of people that should be inside the office. When they actually enter the office, selecting the right seat because only a certain percentage of people are coming, and you want to make sure everybody's social distant from each other. Now you're in office and you want to use a meeting room. Well, which are the meeting rooms that have been cleaned up so that you can actually go and use those? So we looked at every step, right from morning till the time the person leaves the office and what kind of transportation. We build the technology on one platform to be able to cater to all of these 10 steps. As far as companies follow it, as far as I think employees start to use it, I think it just minimizes the chances. You are keeping a visibility of everything that's going on. And I think as we are doing more and more deployments, we're learning a lot, right? So new things are coming up. But clearly, this is a path we've defined for ourselves for, I would say, the short and medium term. And then in the long term, when people do start coming back in larger numbers, I think the whole element of health and wellness in a workplace, how spaces will get distributed, all that is going to change. And I personally believe technology is going to be at the heart of it. Yeah, it's a digital world. We use technology for everything, including banking and finding a cab. Why not use them in spaces?
So Dinesh, tell me something. How will you use this technology to actually make sure that our offices can be as free of COVID as possible? Give me with examples.
So the first thing, I think it begins with not letting an employee come to the workplace if they have any challenges, right? Whether they are showing symptoms, whether their temperature is higher, whether they are coming from a containment zone. And I think making that decision even before they leave work. I mean, a lot of people talk about when they come to work, I'll take temperature and I'll do that. I think it begins at home, right? So that's the first thing you did do, and that's what technology helps you. You put in all your data and it tells you whether you should be coming to work or not, right? I think that's the first thing. So you don't land up having people in there that should not be there. I think the second thing really is around making sure that you actually use technology. It's very hard to track, right? When you're inside an office, well, do I sit here and I've got another colleague sitting next to me? I think it's very natural. We're all human beings, so we will land up doing that. How do you avoid that in a workplace? I think technology will help you make that decision. I mean, one thing you do on our app is you go and it shows you all the seats that are available for that day that you can use. But each seat then has the right distance away from each other. So really social distancing, right? When you go to the cafeteria, again, the same thing, making sure that there's no overcrowding. So technology will determine whether you go or not. So you're actually making sure that at every step, you have technology advising you or guiding you on what you should and should not be doing. Obviously, people will get used to that, but it's important to have that
Sorry,
data
I'm
and
going to interrupt you
information
there.
right in front. Yeah,
Let me
sure.
interrupt you there.
Yeah.
So let me interrupt you there because, like I said, let's explain it to our viewers with examples. You know, this is a very hot topic, as many of us are wondering, when are we going to be summoned back to offices? Do I really want to go to office? Bosses are trying to figure it out. So let's break it down. So let's take the cafeteria example, right? So how will it work? Are you saying that your technology is basically going to say what, that it's just going to inform the employee that so many people are right now in the cafeteria, so it's safe for you to go? Or is your technology going to say that, okay, now it's this department's time to go for lunch? Like, how will it work? Let's understand it.
Okay, so I think it begins by firstly trying to not have queues formed. And if you look at a typical cafeteria, right, people go, they look at the choices that are available and they order and then they wait. Let's avoid that. The first thing is all your menus, everything in a cafeteria are available to you. You go on the app and you choose what do you want to eat. When it's ready, you'll get a message saying it's ready, right? Come in and you can collect it. But it'll also tell you whether there's a seat available inside or not, right? Because you don't want overcrowding there, right? So that's the first most basic step. Now, when you get to the cafeteria and you want to, obviously you pick up your meal and you want to eat, it'll also show you where a seat is available currently for you to go and sit. So that, and it'll also tell you if the seat was cleaned or not. Has it been sanitized, right? Because after a seat is used, ideally it should get cleaned up. So we looked at every one of these steps, right? And from a user standpoint, it's just data available to them. From a crowding standpoint, you don't land up having too many people go in when they don't need to, right? So that's just a simple example of how you could better manage your cafeteria rather than having these long queues and too many people stuffed in out there when they don't need to.
That's a great example. Now tell us with conference rooms, because I'm sure this technology will also be used to somehow make sure that the rooms are being properly sanitized after each meeting.
Absolutely. So I think it begins with, let's say I come to work and I want to have a meeting, right? And I've got a whole bunch of meeting rooms. Now, obviously, less people are coming in. So from a company standpoint, they can decide which are the meeting rooms that can get used for that day. The user can see it on their app and say, oh, I need to have a meeting. These are the 10 meeting rooms that are available for me to use. They book a meeting. They book that meeting room. In the back end, the facilities management team knows that, oh, for today, these are all the meeting rooms that are booked. They'll make sure the meeting room is cleaned at least 15 minutes before people show up. When people show up to the meeting, they check in, right? We have a technology to let you check in. And when you leave, you're checked out. So again, the facility management team people know that, look, the meeting room is now no longer in use, but it was used for so much time. They go, they clean it up. So every time you make a decision to book a meeting room, A, you know the ones that are available, and B, the spaces get cleaned up as and when they need to before the meeting and after the meeting. Just a simple use, but at least you always know that you're sitting in a clean place. And then there's less work also, right? Otherwise, you'll be cleaning the meeting room 24 hours, not knowing which ones are getting used and which ones are not getting used. So using technology makes it far more effective for the user and far more effective for the company as well.
Just being smart, basically. Simple ideas that you're using technology to make it smart and safer for all of us. Dinesh, we're completely out of time. Many thanks for joining us. So that's a ringside view of how all of you can use technology to make sure offices become at least safer when we all return from the work from home phenomenon. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap. Many thanks for tuning in. Tell us what you think of the show. Keep writing into us. Our email address, suc@etnow.tv. See you same time tomorrow.